A major investigation by the New York Times has now revealed that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu prolonged the Gaza war not for strategy but for survival. This story has sparked global debate. And it's important because Aven, a leading Western outlet historically seen as sympathetic to Israel, is now reporting what many in the global South have long been saying. Let's break down what the New York Times uncovered and what it means for the war, regional politics, and the credibility of leadership during crisis. The New York Times spoke to over 110 officials from Israel, the United States, and the Arab world. They analyzed internal documents, war room records, and diplomatic communications. Their conclusion was that Netanyahu repeatedly delayed or derailed ceasefire opportunities not because talks had failed, but to preserve his fragile governing coalition. First, April 2024, a 6-week ceasefire was on the table. Over 30 hostages were set to be released. Talks towards a permanent truce were gaining ground, but when Netanyahu's far-right allies threatened to pull support, he withdrew. Second, January 2025, an extended truce held for weeks. Hamas was open to further releases. The war could have de-escalated. Instead, by March, Netanyahu ended the ceasefire again to protect coalition unity. The New York Times details how Netanyahu faced mounting political risk. He was losing public support, a government collapse could trigger elections, and if that happened, he might face renewed corruption trials and scrutiny over the October 7 Hamas attack. To prevent this, he kept his far-right ministers satisfied, even if that meant prolonging the conflict. As truce efforts gained traction, new military objectives appeared. Suddenly, operations in Rafah and the Gaza-Egypt border were prioritized, objectives that weren't seen as urgent earlier in the war. Sensitive meetings were kept off record. Ceasefire talks were held quietly, away from internal critics. This was not just about battlefield decisions, it was political stage management. And the result was thousands of Palestinians were killed in Gaza. Israeli hostages remained in captivity, some of whom later died, which led to a deeper divide within Israeli society and growing international frustration, including from the United States. Also, a stalled opportunity for normalization with Saudi Arabia. American officials, according to the New York Times, urged Netanyahu to pursue truce deals, citing polling that showed strong Israeli support for hostage release. He refused. Now, Netanyahu's office has called the New York Times report defamatory. They claimed every decision was taken in Israel's national interest. But the New York Times is standing by its reporting, rooted in interviews, internal records, and corroborated evidence. And that's what matters here. Israel's war in Gaza has already reshaped politics in the Middle East. This investigation raises a fundamental question. Can leaders be trusted to act in the interest of peace if peace threatens their political survival?